Bonjour, my name is Billy Boucher, and I do work for Kenora Chiefs Advisory. And I'm here to speak to you about the 7 grandmother teachings, or the 7 sacred teachings as they're sometimes referred to. What I'd like to try and share around those 7 sacred teachings is how important they are in our daily life. The teachings are love, respect, honesty, courage, humility, and truth. And what they stand for is they're essentially teachings for a way of life, in the way that we think, the way that we perceive our world, our reality, and we're guided by those principles in all the things that we do. As an Anishinaabe person, I try to remember or use each aspect of those teachings in everything that I do in my work as well as at home. It's not something that we try to work into a schedule. It's something that you need to kind of sit with and explore your feelings around those teachings and what they represent in your life and how you can attach yourself to that in whatever way that you can understand it. The choice is how much you wish to explore with each of those teachings. And I highly encourage you to look at how you define each of those teachings in your life. Go back into your memory and explore what respect was, how that looked to you, what love looked like to you, what it does look like to you, what it feels like for you. You know, what it means to be honest, you know, mostly with yourself, and how you can share that honesty with others, what that can look like, what that can feel like, and how that can be perceived from others. It's always the interaction. It's the interaction that you have which helps to guide how those teachings can be utilized in your work, in the way that you deal with people, clients, patients, with your own family. There's no structure. There's no structure to the teachings. There isn't a 1 to 7. They're not in order. It's all about being in that moment and being present and being able to acknowledge your place in that moment. And that's where that teaching of humility comes in, is to know your place, to know what you're capable of, to know what your scope of practice is, and to be able to believe in that and to have that honest look at that and to know there's a boundary there. And that's one of the things that the teachings seek to inform us of, is that we do have some very real boundaries, and those teachings, they serve as guidelines to help us define what those boundaries are. And I think that if you're able to spend any amount of time sitting with those teachings and sitting with somebody who has some knowledge, some understanding of each of those teachings. It doesn't necessarily have to come from one person. You can sit in circle with people and everybody has some understanding of what those teachings are and how they interpret them for themselves. And I still am seeking understanding of those teachings every day. And when I do come into a situation where I question myself, you know, I seek out somebody. I have people that I go to and ask those questions of. And that's where that humility comes in all the time, right? To know what you're capable of, and being comfortable in saying, I don't know, I don't understand, and being able and comfortable enough to take that step forward and say, I wish to learn more, know more, and understand more. And knowing that it's a good thing when you're asking those questions around teachings, especially around the 7 teachings, because they're guiding principles in all the things that we do. And we should all be encouraged in a good way to find innovative ways in exploring how we can incorporate each of those teachings into work that we do. If we have more people that are exposed to those universal teachings, that there's always going to be that thread that's going to be woven into any work that any of us do when working with people, especially when we're trying to provide some level of care to an individual. We need to be able to understand a little bit of each of those teachings. What is it that they love? What is it that they respect? Are they showing courage by being in the hospital, by asking for help? And they know their limits, that humility that they have, knowing that there's something wrong, and they're coming forward and asking for that help, and they're showing bravery by doing that. The more that you understand, the more that you're able to understand about those teachings, the more that you can actually kind of connect with when you're sitting across from that individual and hearing their story. I look for every opportunity to share, and there's always tobacco. Tobacco leads the way in all of those things. So whenever you are given an opportunity to ask those questions, make sure that you're presenting that tobacco first, because that tobacco opens up the way for good things. It opens up the pathway to that understanding of those teachings. One of the things about the 7 teachings is that once we start to become exposed more to those things, the world around us begins to look differently. We begin to feel differently about things. Our whole perspective may change. The foundation of our understanding, whichever belief system that you follow, these can be incorporated into that. And I've worked with different religious denominations, and I've been able to have a connection that way, just talking about those words: love, respect, courage, wisdom, honesty, humility, bravery. And there's always been that reciprocation of understanding, where those individuals that I've sat down with have shared their own experiences and been able to have a connection that way. So if whatever belief system that you do have currently, or you're looking to explore your spirituality, this is a very unique opportunity to be able to, at your own pace, at your own comfort level, in your own private thoughts, begin to kind of think about those things. So it's all about how intimate do you want to become with what you understand about those teachings. If you wish to learn more, there will be opportunities put in your path. You'll be able to manifest that once you start to think about it, once you start to feel about it, and once you start acting about it, that those teachings will manifest themselves to allow you to gain that understanding and to allow your perspective to change about the things that you're doing with your work and your scope of practice. And it'll open up you to a different world, a world where you're not confined as much. You'll allow yourself to feel a deeper emotional connection to the work that you're currently doing, and the gift that those teachings can provide and give you that peace of mind, in knowing that you've done enough, that you've reached that boundary, that you've reached that perimeter of that scope of practice, and just shows you that there's more out there that can be accomplished. So the idea and some of the messaging and the underlying intent of those 7 grandfather teachings is to bring people together. And that's where that collaboration comes in, that's where that understanding will come in, and that's where that common ground and that safe and secure space can be created that will provide an opportunity for very real conversations to happen between people. It can create a sense of peace, especially if those caregivers, when working with their clients, are able to put that across in that way, that therapeutic alliance, and have the client or the patient know that, understand that, and feel that. If you have somebody that feels safe with you and that's able to speak to those things, there's that foundation of the alliance, that therapeutic alliance that you may have, that relationship. That's what they seek to create within us, is to help us explore that relationship. And however we define that relationship, whether it's with others, with ourselves, with the world around us, they seek to just guide all the decisions around how we're going to interact with the world that we currently live in. And if you wish to explore that more, there's so much more to those teachings than just the words. The 7 sacred teachings are vital, especially when dealing with vulnerable people. It's vital that we understand on some level each of those teachings, and we try and aspire to create a balanced and open, safe conversation so that the client or patient can build that trust, and the trust and the communication is really important. So that's basically the underlying foundation that the teachings seek to create within all of us. And I feel grateful that I've had the opportunity to listen to and see it practiced here in Treaty 3 from many, many elders over a long period of time. I'm going to say a couple of decades. So I've spent a lot of time sitting and listening. It's a very, very awesome experience if you're able to open yourself up just a little bit to the other world that's out there, outside of the physical things that you see. It's just not the physical. There's the mental space, there's the emotional space, and then there's the spiritual space that these teachings seek to help us understand as well. Thank you. Miigwetch.